Hey, everybody. It's me, Natalie Diaz, founder of Twiniversity, author of What to Do When You're Having to, mom of dragons or twins, whatever you want to say these days. I'm into it. Guys, I have rooked Dr. Katie Marks-Cogan to hang out with us today, and she's a very important person. So we can't dilly-dally and take any of her time. She's a board-certified pediatric and adult allergist, first and foremost. She's a mom of two, but not of twins, right, Dr. Katie?
That's correct.
Next roll of the dice. That's what that'll be. And she is one of the big cheeses at Ready, Set, Food, which if you are like me, you saw them on Shark Tank. So that's first. So that's like the big time for us, Dr. Katie. It's when you make Shark Tank. And I know so many people now that were on Shark Tank, and I don't know if it's because I just know good people or I don't even know what it is. But there's so many wonderful baby products that are out there that we get introduced to, and then you guys get on Shark Tank and then just make it big. And I am honored that you are choosing to play with us because we have so many questions for you, and I would love to get into it, but please just give us a little background on you so we know why we should care about you, because I already care about you.
And well, I care about you too.
Dr.
Thank you for having me on. It's so much fun to chat with you. You're really fun to talk to. So yes, I am Dr. Katie Marks-Cogan. I'm a board-certified pediatric and adult allergist and immunologist. I am the owner of Clear Allergy, which is here in Los Angeles. It's my private practice. And I am also the co-creator and chief allergist at Ready Food. Oh. I have two wonderful little, what did you call them, dragons?
Yes.
Two wonderful little kiddos that are keeping me on my toes even more now than ever. A 2.5-year-old daughter and a 5.5-year-old son. And I grew up in Cleveland and have sort of been all over the country in the East Coast and Chicago doing my training. And then my husband's from Los Angeles and he brought me here.
The weather's nicer. You did good. You did good weather-wise.
Most of the time, although the fires have been.
Yeah, listen, you got to take one for the other. What do you want? Do you want blizzards and nor'easters, or it's something? But yeah, it's horrible over there. I think about you guys every day, not only of people who are dealing with the fires, but the smoke, which that's got to bring people into your practice. I mean,
yes, not good for allergies or asthma at all.
Holy smoke. All right. Now, in general, this is what you do for a living, right? How common are food allergies in children that not only did you develop a product to help children, but you built your whole profession around this? So how common, how often do children have food allergies?
Yes, that is a great question. So right now in the United States, it's estimated that about 8 to 10% of children have food allergies, which is a really high number. And if you break it down, it's actually 1 in 13 children. So that's, even break it down even further, that's like 2 kids in every classroom have a food allergy now. And those rates are actually rising. Over the past few decades, peanut allergy has actually almost tripled. So it has become an epidemic in our society. And, it's the trend is that it's getting worse.
So you constantly see kids that are coming in, and when parents come in for the first time and they think that their child is exhibiting food allergy symptoms, how do you find out for sure that that's what that is?
Sure. So the history is always the most important thing. Talking to the parents, really trying to understand what happened and what foods were eaten, et cetera. And then we can use some diagnostic methods like skin testing, which can be helpful, sometimes blood testing, sometimes both, and sort of taking all of that data, all those data points, and then making a decision on the likelihood of a real IgE mediated, which is a term we use for allergies, immediate type food reaction.
Now, we are taping this live on Facebook, but we're also going to use this for a podcast later. So if you hear that, I'm going to shout out random questions, because to be honest with you, Dr. Katie, we're getting some pretty impressive comments already. So there's people who have children who have anaphylactic, reactions from milk or eggs or nuts. And so what's the difference between like a minor food allergy, and how do you know when it's like, grab the EpiPen, call 911, let's get this done?
Sure,
Like how
sure.
common are those allergies versus
Yeah.
my tongue is itchy?
In terms of the number of 8 to 10%, I mean, that's, IgE mediated allergic reaction, right? Just thinking about childhood food allergies first, the most common food allergy in childhood is milk, and that's followed by egg. And then peanuts really in there as well. And peanuts also known to be the most severe. So children that have peanut allergy tend to have more severe reactions, although any food allergy food allergen can cause a severe reaction, anaphylaxis, which is when more than, 2 or more organ systems are involved. And so, the problem with food allergies is we can't predict.
Yeah.
We don't know. You can have a mild reaction one time, and then you might have a much more severe reaction, which is, I think, one of the reasons why it's so anxiety provoking for parents, for the patient themselves, because it's hard to know what's going to happen. And so really the best thing, in terms of once you're diagnosed, is treatment of avoidance. I mean, that's the treatment, right? Avoiding it, having your EpiPen, and then obviously there's oral immunotherapy and everything, which we won't discuss today. That's a whole other topic. But that's sort of the whole,
allergies in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Oh, horrible
so really, we want to try to prevent them.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think a lot of the education and all of that needs to start happening, so that we can change the trend.
So now it is to our best advantage as parents that we have our little babies, and then we start doing food introductions. At 6 months, you do independent introductions. But I understand that there is a new USDA guideline of food introductions, or what's happening with our USDA?
Yeah. So, a lot's happening with the guidelines, the national guidelines, USDA. So basically, what we used to say is to avoid allergenic foods. Back in 2000, when the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with some guidelines saying delay allergenic foods, wait to introduce peanuts and tree nuts and milkonites, et cetera, right? But then years later, they reversed those guidelines because they knew that actually wasn't the way to prevent food allergies. And then since that time, we now have multiple studies that have shown us and have demonstrated that we can actually prevent up to 80% of childhood food allergies by introducing allergenic foods early and often. And so because of all of that research, we have the American Academy of Pediatrics has put out guidelines recommending introducing allergenic foods like peanuts and eggs to babies starting at 4 months of age. And then other medical societies have similar guidelines. And then this year was the first year, is a milestone. The USDA is including guidelines for babies' diets. And one of their recommendations is also to be introducing allergenic foods starting at 4 months of age. So there's a real consensus now in the medical community around this information, around early allergen introduction.
It's so scary. It's so scary because every 10 years, everything changes. Right. So I feel like my mom's generation, there was less food allergies because she just ate what was there and there was no discussion. And if it was shrimp or peanuts or whatever, that's just what everybody ate. Good luck. Right. And then you started phasing into, kind of like my generations of like the 70s, 80s, where it was like people were still smoking and feeding, formula. There's been so many versions of parenting and food introductions throughout these years. And now it's like they're shaking out the rug again and saying, okay, no. let's start at 4 months. So let's talk about a little bit about you and Ready Set Food. And I have it with me here. Actually, you guys were very, very generous to, I was like, I don't even know what it looks like. Like, what, how do I talk to people about this when I don't even know what this product looks like? So how do we find it? When do we do it? I know technically now we're supposed to start at 4 months, right? You just hinted at that with the USDA. But with this product, is this really going to help? I have to be honest, I'm secretly petrified to do this, right? Because that's got to be, I'm just like literally putting it out there. If I have a food allergy, I'm going to be scared poopless about starting that food for my child. But it seems that now with the USDA and the American Academy of Pediatrics, I'm better off ripping off the Band-Aid, and I'll have less of a chance of my child having the same allergy that I do. So what is Ready Set Food? Why should I care? How is this going to help me not have my kids have a peanut-free school in 20 years?
So much, you had so much meat in that.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm a meaty kind of girl. I can't help it.
No, it's good. It's good. I love it. Let me address one thing. So I always, people say this to me, oh, well, the guidelines, you said, the guidelines changed, right? Every 10. The thing is, medicine evolves, right? Mm-hmm. The field evolves as we're able to do more and more research. And when we get data that really, is convincing, then we change guidelines. Mm-hmm. And that will happen. But now we have this data. So now we know, this is very, like concrete now, at least with food allergy prevention.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. So Ready Set Food, what is it? Why did we make it? Well, one of the co-founders, who is a physician himself, his son was diagnosed with multiple severe food allergies when he was an infant. Oh. And so he's a really smart guy, and he had sort of, been reading and knew about the studies about food allergy prevention, and thought to himself, how could I have prevented my son from developing this? Mm-hmm. And, in terms of, my involvement, I had been preaching early allergen introduction in my clinic to my patients. I did it with my son, and I knew how hard it was to do it, because starting at 4 months, a lot of babies aren't eating solids at 4 months, right? So Correct. That's the issue. So how do you get allergens in at 4 months if they're not eating? And so, we got together and we got other medical experts involved and formed a team and created this product, Ready Set Food, that contains the key allergens in childhood: milk, egg, and peanut. Okay. And it's able to dissolve into breast milk and formula in baby's bottle. Okay. So it's 1 packet a day. The doses are based on the clinical trials. And we start with a small amount and then increase to a larger amount to make it gentle introduction. It's one food at a time also. And so all you have to think is putting one of these packets, they're all numbered.
I love that.
And each packet, we tell you what's in it, and you pour it into the bottle, it dissolves, and you give the baby the bottle. So you don't have to think, okay, I have to hurry up and feed my baby and think about how much I'm going to feed, and are they going to spill it all over the floor, and all the things we go through when we're feeding kiddos solid foods. It's really hard. And so, there's no additives or preservatives either. We wanted to make it like, we're all parents, and actually we all used it on our kids. So I had it, we had it available when I had my daughter, and I used it. And I'm slightly biased, but it was so easy, and it made my life so much easier not to have to think about those allergens, and to be able to get them in during that window of opportunity.
Yeah, because really how are you going to get the egg and the peanut in? Now, this looks like a big package, right? But actually, what is it, like half a teaspoon? Or it's not even a teaspoon in there, is it?
No, it's a really small amount of powder. It gets bigger, obviously, when you get to the last day, because it has all 3 allergens, and then you go on to the maintenance dose. Now, let me bring this point up, because this is super important. It's called early allergen introduction, but we should probably change the term to early and sustained allergen introduction,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not only about introducing the food.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really important for your, your base to understand, and for all parents to understand. Just giving baby, peanuts one day and then not continuing to feed them does not help prevent them from developing a peanut allergy. It has to be frequent exposure in the right amounts for many, many months. And so again, with the product, we wanted to do make that part easy as well. And so you just, again, it's just one packet in the maintenance. Once you get to maintenance, it's just one packet into a bottle every day. And we say use it for 6 months, or until your baby is regularly eating these foods in their diet, so that you don't have to sort of stress about it.
So our first stage 1, comes with the daily introduction, little by little. And then from there, we just do full out maintenance.
All three foods in the recommended doses that we use based off of clinical trials.
Which is milk, egg, and peanut. What about tree nut?
Yes, good question. I wanted to address, because you had talked about, being scared and ripping off the Band-Aid. And I want to address that, because that is a really big deal. And I see it, I deal with so many parents, and I'm a parent. I mean, I know what it's like, feeding new foods to your baby, and sort of thinking about this as you're doing it. The studies show that infancy is the safest time to be introducing allergenic foods. If an infant is going to have a reaction, in all likelihood is going to be mild. As they get older, the reactions can become more severe. In all of the landmark clinical trials on early allergen introduction, there were no severe reactions. And in all of the data that we have in the United States and in the UK, there have been no fatalities from food allergic reactions in babies. So we have a lot of information telling us that this is actually quite safe to do. The guidelines are recommending it to all babies, right? So I understand the anxiety that comes with it, but this is really something that I think once parents are educated on the topic and understand it takes a little bit of the fear away. And then, so I'll answer your question about tree nuts.
Yes, so the tree nuts, that's a big one. Is that because I know that peanuts grow on a vine, but tree nuts are on a tree, so it's a different, class of allergy, and that seems to be a growing sector of allergens. So, what's going on with the tree nuts?
So right now in the U.S., there are 8 food groups that are listed as the top 8 major food allergens in the US. It's peanut, egg, milk, soy, wheat, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. Sesame has become an emerging concern, and there's a petition out now to add it as the 9th major food allergen in the US. So sesame allergy is actually becoming more common. So those are the major food allergens. Tree nuts, as I mentioned, are in there. Now, peanut is a legume. So peanut's a legume, like a pea, like beans, right? It's in that category. It's not actually a nut. And then there are the tree nuts that are sort of the true nuts: cashew, pistachio, walnut, pecan, almond. And yes, those are a major allergen, and babies can develop those. They're not, as common in young children as egg and milk and peanuts. And egg and milk, for example, if you think of like a preschool birthday party, and you think about all the food that's there, most of that food contains egg and milk. So that can be really difficult in terms of like the lifestyle for the family if the baby's allergic to egg and milk. So a lot of times I like to focus on those, because I don't think people, that's not what you hear about in the news necessarily. But it really is a big deal. But in terms of tree nuts, introducing all the tree nut butters, and we're actually coming out with a product soon that's going to help with these other allergens, getting those into the diet. But because we wanted to make that easy too. I tell all my families, listen, you got to get all these allergens in. Shellfish, not so much. It's more of an adult onset allergy, and also it's not prevalent in a lot of diets. So I don't always focus on that, but the other ones are important.
And it's one of those like hidden things. So my best friend's daughter has a tree nut allergy, And luckily now she's 15 and she reads every single thing, which is great. But I can't even imagine when she was 5 how to deal with that. So I love that this deals with that. Now, riddle me this. We had a question that said that there is a mom who has a child who already has a milk sensitivity. Is it possible to start introducing these before 4 months? And why would we or wouldn't we?
Wonderful question. I'm so glad she asked that. So when you say a milk sensitivity, that we have to define exactly what that is. So many babies have something called, it's a long name, but it's called milk protein induced allergic procticulitis. Okay, so that's a term. Really what it is blood and mucus in their poop, right? And oftentimes it can be from milk, from cow's milk.
Yes.
That can cause it. And so a lot of people use that term milk sensitivity or milk intolerance. And that's very different than having an allergy, an immediate type allergy to milk.
Okay.
If baby is diagnosed with an immediate type food allergy to milk, then they need to avoid this product and they need to avoid all cow's milk. But if they have a milk sensitivity because they had some blood or mucus or colic, right? Sometimes it's just really, colicky babies, and pediatrician tells mom to either remove milk from her diet if she's breastfeeding or switch formulas away from a cow's milk formula.
Yes.
And if that's the case, you work with the pediatrician to come up with a time that you can reintroduce cow's milk, because most of those babies outgrow that by 1 year of age.
Okay.
So a lot of times I tell mom reintroduce it at 8 months or 10 months. And so with Ready Set Food, a lot of times I tell parents, try it and see what happens. If the colic comes back, if you're worried about blood or mucus, you see it, then you can stop it. We actually have a Ready Set Food that is dairy free, so there's no milk, and it's for this reason. It's for these babies, so that the parents can still get egg and peanut into their diet and wait a little while to reintroduce that cow's milk.
Okay. Now, once I do this and I'm on the maintenance is how often? Is it daily?
It's daily, because when you look at studies and sort of talk to people, doing something 3 times a week is very difficult. And we are all so busy. And so remembering to do that is really hard.
Yeah.
Versus knowing every day I have to do this, I put this in a bottle, and it's much easier to remember.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the thing, right? This is not an inexpensive product. This is definitely something. Will it ever be covered by insurance?
That is the hope. And we are in talks about this.
Okay.
And we are extremely hopeful. We actually have partnerships with some major health systems. One of them is Advocate Aurora, that they deliver 30,000 babies per year. Wow. And we are, we've created a bunch of educational content to help their pediatricians and allergists get the word out about, early allergen introduction. And so we are very hopeful that at some point it will be. We, because of our amazing experience on Shark Tank and this honor that we have to work with Marks-Cogan, we're also doing this program where we give Ready Set Food, away to, families that need it, that maybe can't afford it. And so we're really trying. I mean, our mission is to educate parents and make it easy for them to do this. Yeah. And so we want to help as much as we can.
You guys were really good. You gave us a code of Twins50, which will give us 50% off the first month of any subscription, which is really generous. So thank you very much, because this is not going to be, an inexpensive undertaking, but it's one of those things that I feel like now we're at the early stages of when this becomes the norm. And eventually I feel like this will be included in infant formulas, and that at some point down the line, there will be, this will be in Similac and Infamil and everything else. So yeah, I think that this is
I can't hear you.
I
lost
you lost me? You lost my audio? Can you hear me now? It always turns into a Verizon commercial. Could you hear me now? Could you hear me now? I didn't do anything, did I?
I don't know what's wrong.
I don't know what's wrong either, Dr. Katie. This is horrible. All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to just text her and I'm going to just tell her that we could hear her. We can hear you. Okay. So what I just texted Dr. Katie is I said, we could hear you. So let's close it out. So yeah, we have this 50% off coupon, which is Twins50, which is for our Ready Set Food subscription, which is really, really good. And yeah, could you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't hear you, but I'm just gonna say that I loved being here. Maybe we can try to log in again, but I loved being here. I'm happy to answer more questions. Happy to do this again. And, you know, I recommend that people go to the website, readysetfood.com, because we have a lot of educational content on there. And it really helps when you have that background before you make the purchase. So, but thanks.
It is my pleasure. Thank you. I'm doing some weird sign language. So thank you very much. You have a good night. And I will see you later.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katie. See you later. And for those of you that are listening, thanks so much for listening. For more information, go to readysetfood.com. We'll give you a link, and don't forget to use the code TWIN50. See you later, alligators, and have a good night. Maybe, yeah, we'll get her back. Don't worry about that. We'll definitely have Dr. Katie back because I actually have more questions. So yeah, it's something that's new, that's out there, and I am definitely envious as a mom of a child who has issues with milk. So yeah, she had it early on with that milk intolerance, and it just got worse. And now she could eat milk if it's cooked, but raw milk, not raw milk, but like pasteurized milk in her, it's not friends. They're not friends. So that is it for the night. Don't forget it is my birthday. So send me a birthday message over on Facebook. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, guys, I'll see you later, alligators. Have a great night. Bye, guys.